Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the art of outsmarting manipulators, business, relationship, and beyond. This week's going to be an interesting week, seriously. It's quite interesting because the first time I was played, I used to think I was a great judge of character. Then I met someone who completely shattered that belief. They were charming, persuasive, and had a way of making me feel like I was the most important person in the world. Until I wasn't. By the time I realized what was happening, they had already gotten what they wanted. Ever been there? Manipulation is an art, and if you don't know the rules of the game, you will lose every time. Yes, so I'm laughing because you know what? That happened to even the brightest people, and you can ask yourself, how did you get fooled? Well, sometimes people can wear a cloak, yes, or a nice mask where they will level you up, meaning they will make you believe that they are as smart than you are. They will listen what you're saying and will seduce you with words. Yes. So recognizing manipulation tactics, because in this we need to talk about it. So when you recognize the patterns, you can, for those manipulators, it's not always obvious at first, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's something people need to recognize when you're dealing with people, and it doesn't matter if it's at work, if it's where it is. So here's a few common tactics. The most talk, and I even wrote and I did 2 podcasts and I wrote 2 blogs. They are on that edg intuitive.com, I believe, which I talked about what was it? Let me see. I'm gonna go back on mine. I want to set it properly. Well, oh yeah, I used to write my blog. I'm not doing this one right now, but I'm gonna probably go back and do my intuitive blogs. I had thousands of blogs in there. So, but the one that I did, where is it? Services, life coach, right here. I have to navigate my website. Under the podcast, if you go to edgintuitive.com, there is under podcast, there is a few of stuff that I've done, and one of them is talking about the story of a junkie narcissist, and it's in 2 parts, and the part 2 is the story of oh, that's interesting. I had a typo in there. Yes, I do. Story of a junkie narcissist part 2. I need to correct that. Interesting title. Yes. This is a cautionary tale of a junkie narcissist, the final chapter before the fall. So, if you really want to know about it, you should, because that really will show you what to the extreme it can go. Seriously. But one of the things I've been speaking for the past few years and has been brought up a lot is narcissists. We all have that trait, but some of the narcissists is more prominent than everybody else's. In gaslighting is what they are doing. Actually, there is a process where They make you doubt your own reality. Are you sure you remember it that way? And that's what they're doing. They're gaslighting you. And it goes from gaslighting to guilt tripping that make you feel, responsible for their emotion, or love bombing and devaluation as well. The love bombing comes first. I love you. Woohoo! They build you up just to break you down and discard you. And they continue the cycle over and over and over and over. And this is one of the biggest trait of the narcissist. Some people like to do the guilt trip every single time. They don't do the gaslighting, they do the guilt trip. Have you ever had a mom or a bro or a sister or a cousin or somebody that you had close to you that always give you the guilt tripping? So oh, I don't have the money, can you pay for it? Oh, I will help you, blah 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 blah. Or I want to go somewhere but you don't like me, blah blah blah. And they get you go to the guilt trip and you're gonna break, and you're like, and then you're like, dang, I want it again. So it's quite interesting when you recognize those patterns. You have to take the time to recognize the pattern, because sometimes when you don't observe, be aware of the people, read the people, you will see the flag, you're gonna see the crack happening. And the person who manipulated me, well, they were a master at mirroring, and that's the problem, pretending to share my values, my interests, my goals. But looking back, I see it now. It was all an act. And the biggest of all, that's why I wrote the blog, was one of the biggest lesson ever, except I was his lesson. I was his karma, actually. Oh my God, I was his karma. He could not. And he tried the manipulation. But he was good at the beginning because he listened and he picked up. But he pretended to be somebody he wasn't. And it was quite interesting to see the interest, the goal. But when he went through the cycle of the gaslighting, the guilt trip, well, the guilt trip wasn't there, but the love bombing, the devaluation, he was just like, holy crap. And he tried. And what was interesting, actually, and I was talking to somebody a few days ago about it, because we were talking about situation where we've been, and not in a bad way, actually. I was laughing. Actually, I'm like, it's always a very interesting story to tell when I feel like telling it, which if you published it like I did, it's like it's out there, it is what it is. But it was very interesting that at the end, every time he tried to gaslight and provoke a situation, he could not with me. And he was kind of pissed off because I stopped him in his track. Everybody will go straight to his pattern and go for it and go to the spiraling down. And I wasn't. I did not. The worst thing he did was he destroyed his entire kitchen. Literally, the cabinet, the stove. He destroyed everything, and the dining room too. And it was like, I was in his office working. I'm hearing the rumble, and I let it be. I didn't say anything. And when I walked over there, and the dogs were with me, and I'm looking at it, when I look at it, I'm like, oh, wow. And I'm like, well, it's his monkey circus. So he was expecting I will have a meltdown, I will be screaming. No, I did not. I let it be. That's not my home, so what do I care? And that was the last day. And I left the following day for good. He never saw me again. But he wanted to create a pattern of addictions. And he admitted it in a car, because those people will never admit, by the way. They are very good liars. And in his problem, he was a junkie on the top of it, which was something I wasn't aware of. And a lot of people don't realize, if you're not around addicts, and not every addict looks like the one you found on the street who are homeless. I'm talking, you have addicts who have very high paid jobs. Some are running businesses, and they spend a lot of money on drugs, illegal drugs, I'm talking, and you will never believe they are on drugs. And this is the kind of person I had around me. I had not. I discovered it afterwards, because I would have known before. I was just like, you have a nice day. But that was his prerogative, not my problem. It was his. But the most interesting part is when we went back after we had to go somewhere, and the last day, the final day that I was with him, he finally said the truth. He was so upset, so freaking upset, because he could not get me addicted to his patterns. He could not manipulate me. And he was so mad. And I was laughing, and I'm like, you do realize that that doesn't work with me. So why are you trying? And that was who he was. But again, you have to look at the pattern. The people who comes in your life, and even mom, dad, bro, cousin, who have a tendency to create chaos, and it gets everybody going. Why don't you step back as an observer and see how they do the trigger? And when you don't dance their dance, then they get upset and they will try again. And they may be going to back out and realize it doesn't work and get upset again. And they're going to try again. But after a while, they will stop to try because it doesn't work. So that's something you have to be aware of. Now, how do you negotiate and set boundaries? And I'm going to tell you another story, just like today's story there. I'm telling you, take your pen and paper because that's hilarious. Oh, yes. Sorry, drinking my water here. I have to take my intakes of water. It's my second bottle of water, and I have to take it. So how do you negotiate? Because the most powerful lesson I learned, silence is your greatest weapons. Actually, it is one of the best one. With Mommy Dearest, I had a very how can we say that? Very difficult childhood. And when you have very strong-minded people, that's even worse. But they were so toxic. And when Mommy Dearest, when my El Viejo, like I call him El Viejo, Daddy, Pa, Le Vieux, was traveling because he used to work off state. And we were alone with Mommy Dearest. She would go because he was a narcissist. And I realized this many, many years after that. And he was a narcissist because I could not point out his pattern. I knew the patterns, but I didn't know who he was. So he was another narcissist. But it was interesting because she would, at time, create chaos. Because he got her addicted to the chaos, actually. And she would do that. And she would try to provoke and provoke and provoke. And I was silent. And silence will just turn her even nuts. More nuts. Seriously. And I use silence. I don't need to. And I see this online as well. Because I do things with TikTok. And especially... since Hurricane Helene, I made a point that my Facebook actually is what the boots on the ground and the people of North Carolina to the Carolinas and Tennessees are experiencing the truth. And a lot of people are not aware of, which is sad in one way, but information is not flowing. So I've been using that, and people are attacking even through Facebook, because you got people who got nothing else better to do. And you got boots as well. The boots will attack, create fake account, and putting some pretty, I would say, and those are hackers as well, doing this, vile message to get people going in the wrong direction. So what I do, I don't respond to people because I don't see the point to waste my time when people do this. So the only thing I do is when I keep silent, which I do, and I block. Like I said to people, and I had somebody who had a meltdown as well. I don't know what was wrong with him, from the Carolinas, acting up, all weird. And like I said to him, I said, I have an extremely bad temper, but I'm not going to waste my time to utilize and be negative when I don't need to be. Like everybody else, my temper has limits, and you do not want to see me piss off because it's not going to be pretty, and I have something else to do better because I don't care. So I use silence. I don't respond to attack, and if I use silence, you're gonna see me like that individual, like I said. The following day, I left. This ding dong thought I would come back. I never did. When I walk away, I walk away. People don't realize I come into people's life, but when it's time for me to go, I go. But I go in silence. By the time they realize that, it's been a while. Oh, she doesn't exist anymore. Manipulator thrives on reactions. And he can be a narcissist or anyone who loves chaos. And the moment I stop engaging, the power dynamic shifted. And it's true, silence. And sometimes you have to lock your jaws because you feel like responding, not in a very kind manners. So here's something seriously that should help to protect ourselves. State your boundaries clearly. I don't tolerate dishonesty. This conversation is over. Recognize their triggers. They hate when you don't engage emotionally, and that's happening every single time. They use strategic communication because instead of defending yourself, ask direct questions that force them to revelate their intentions. So here's something in people as well who like to start the triggers to provoke. And narcissists do the same thing. They will even throw you the kitchen sink in your face. And I learned it by somebody, I forgot her name. I interviewed her a couple of years ago. I did a series of interviews for business owners here in the US and around the world. I interview a lot of people in Australia. And one woman, God bless her heart, I have to figure out, I forgot her name. But she told the story of her abuse. She was in an abusive relationship and she stayed there for years, but she finally walked away with her kids because this man was beyond controlling. She had no money. She was living in the worst and worst situation ever. But she decided to walk away. And one thing she did, because she's extremely successful woman, she's a beautiful woman, really like her very much. But it was very interesting when she said that narcissists, like everybody else's, when they start to trigger things, like one day she came back home and the dinner was cold when she was too cold for him. So what he did, instead my dinner is cold, he started to yell at her saying there was a microwave was dirty, and he tried to go and attack everything. And she moved him back to the conversation of the food that was cold, not the microwave. That wasn't the microwave the issue. She was able, and I use that technique as well. When people get triggered and try to throw you the sink, I go back to, we're talking about this issue. Is the food was cold, you could have told me, you could have do this, you could do that. The rest we can talk later on. So that blocks that individual to expand to something else. So that's something. Now, let me tell you a story, because in the series, you have to watch out what you're saying to the universe. Let me tell you another funny story. After this relationship chaotic was ended, I asked the universe, and I learned something that I should have known better because I've been doing this for years. But I got reminded, it was my life lesson to be reminded that ask for what you want and not what you don't want. Okay? So here's a little tip. If you're in a relationship and you have very bad relationship with someone and you get out of that relationship, I'm adjusting my microphone. So if you hear some weird noise, it's just I need to set it up properly. Here we go. Readjust it, tie it up. Don't say, I don't want somebody on drug. I don't want somebody who's an alcoholic. I don't want somebody who's cheating. I don't want somebody who do this. I don't want a liar, blah, blah, blah. You said, I want a loving relationship. You do not give the no, I don't want, because sometimes you're going to end up, not sometimes, but all the time you end up with the I don't want. They're going to give it back to you. So, I had another relationship that came afterwards. Again, not looking for a relationship. The first one, the one that I talked about and I did a blog about, I wasn't even looking for a relationship because I was busy on my business. Could not care less of if Mr. Universe was sitting next to me. I wasn't looking for a relationship. This one, same thing. After I was burned out, I had something else better to do. But this individual disrespected my boundaries pretty badly. I would say. And I got enough. I'm a nice person, but there is a limit. You have to learn, and some people don't know or they don't want to know where others people's boundary starts. And not in is not the only one, not in personal, but it can be friend, it can be coworkers. And I started to set my boundaries. Then all of a sudden I became the bad guy. Why? N- Not because I was the bad guy, but because I set the boundaries. I changed. I'm somebody else's. I used to be nicer. That's the remarks that I had. So what I did, I looked at that person and I said, "No, I'm still nice, but my boundaries are here. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. I do not want this. This is not how I want it. It's not about you, it's about my boundaries." So when people don't get their way and you state your boundaries clearly, then you're the bad guy. When you put your foot down, you become the bad guy. And I'm fine if I'm the bad guy because I don't want this. So you have to be clear. Do not be a carpet. Do not do like the Swiss cheese that I did for a while for some unknown reason. Also, then I was too nice. And I had people who thought that, they could take advantage of it. But you know what? The song can go for so long. The music can play for so long. And then it stopped. So set your boundary clearly, because otherwise you're going to be walked all over your face. Recognize those triggers. Instead, then, go with what they're saying. Step back, take a minute, and observe. In strategic communication, it's like you don't defend yourself. If there is one problem and somebody throw you the entire room and the kitchen sink, go back to what was the original problem and let them know. Oh, we're not talking about this. We're talking about this issue. So what exactly is the problem? The rest we can deal with it later on. But right now, this is the topic. Let's focus on that and find a resolution. Those people who likes to manipulate will stop, because they're going to be they're going to receive the slap in their face when you do this way. They expect something else. So the emotional, intelligent, and strategic thinking is our best weapons. Once I started studying manipulation, because I observe, and I'm like, oh, I'm reading it like a book, and I'm looking like a play, and I'm like, really? I realized it was happening everywhere. Work, social circles, even marketing tactics do this all the time to make you buy things you don't even need. And some people are freaking good at it. And if you can read people well, you have the power to control the outcome of most, and I said most situation, because the bigger one I learned, it was like, holy crap, because I saw some red flags, but I did not saw everything. So emotional intelligence is not just a skill, it's a superpower. Every time you interact with someone, ask yourself, are they influencing me for my benefits or theirs? Because those individuals who do this is what they're thinking. What can I get out of that person or that situation? Start noticing manipulation pattern this week. Try it, journal them, and once you see the game, you will never fall for it again. And I can guarantee you're going to see the best one and the best one and the worst one and the worst one. And oh my God. So this was our podcast for today, but think about it again, because seriously, that will help you at work, because at work, it's the same situation in your circle as well, social circle. And I'm going to say this, if it's happening in your social environment, maybe I would say recognize those people and disengage slowly but surely and walk away, because that's mean you're not, or maybe you like it, but I don't. I would rather have people who are grounded and mindfulness. Oh, with mindfulness. Oh my God, my English is going sideways. This is funny. I rather deal with people who are mindful and they are genuine than the people who pretend. And that's what you have to observe people and see and ask that questions and making sure you set your boundaries, because when somebody tries to cross your boundaries once, they will do it again and again, even if you push them back. But really think for yourself. And again, look at and inventory the people you got around. Maybe there is too much chaos. I like my peace of mind. Seriously, chaos can go somewhere else because I got something else better to do. But some people are addicted to the chaos. Some people are liars, bona fide liars, manipulators. You're going to encounter them, part of your life lessons. Now, do you want to continue to swim in that cycle that doesn't make any sense? Or do you want to move on to something else better? It's all about you and what you want to do. It's not about me, it's about you. So at least recognize the patterns, become more the observers. And when you recognize the pattern, this is interesting because I've seen it too many times when people try and they try and they try and they get pissed and mad at the end of the day, they walk away. And you're like, yeah, well, do it to somebody else's because it doesn't work. Don't even do that. Don't push it. It doesn't work this way. And you observe them. Yeah, bless their little heart, and you move along. So have a beautiful rest of the day. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.